Okay, in this one we're going to learn how to find a gradient at a point, and this is the prime achieved skill. And to do that we differentiate our function to get the gradient function, and the gradient function f dash of x gives the gradient at every point on the function of x, f of x. I'm going to say that a few times in this video because really that's what it's all about. So to find a gradient we take a particular function in this case and we differentiate it. 3 times 2 is 6, 1 off the 3 x to the 2, 2 times 5 is 10, 1 off the 2 x, 12 times the x to the 1 is 12, and the x disappears and all the plus and minus signs stay as they were. So we now have our gradient function which gives the gradient at every point on the original function. And since it gives the gradient at every point on the function, to find the gradient at x is equal to 2, we put 2 into that f dash of x, and we find 6 times 2 squared plus 10 times 2 minus 12 is 32. That's our answer. We'll do an example. We're going to find the gradient of f dash of x at x is equal to 3. Gradient at every point is found by using the gradient function, so we need a gradient function. We differentiate it. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 8 is 8. Sign stays the same, and this x drops off. The gradient at x is equal to 3 is found by putting 3 into our gradient function. So we'll put 3 into 6x minus 8. 6 times 3 minus 8 equals 10, and the answer to the question is the gradient of x is equal to 3 is 10. The gradient is found by using the gradient function. One more time. Another example. What is the gradient of this graph at the point 1, 7? This time is exactly the same, except instead of using function notation, we're using the y and x notation. So we need a gradient function, and to find the gradient function we differentiate our function. 1 times 5 is 5, and the x to the 1 drops away. 3 times minus 3 is minus 9, and the 3 becomes a 2, and that's a constant, so it's differentiated away. At the point 1, 7, it's the same as saying x is equal to 1. In this instant we don't actually need to know what the y value is. Our function is determined entirely in terms of x. We put x is equal to 1 into our gradient function, and so 6 minus 9x squared becomes 6 minus 9 times 1 squared, x is equal to 1, which is minus 3, and that's the answer to our question. The gradient at 1, 7 is minus 3. We took our function, we found its gradient function, and we put the x value into that gradient function.